I started the broadcast and then I realized I hadn't done my mic check, so I had to jump off and jump back on. Mm, I may be. Uh, Morning, Duchess. Hey, vegan sister. So I'm guessing that. Oh, what's that little? Who's the little bearded? Who's the little bearded? I'm looking. I'm checking out morning. Yeah, morning, vegan sister. I'm looking, Duchess. You have a little character there that's like a funny looking. Hey, redneck to vegan. How's it going? I'm trying to figure out what this funny little character is. But it's a anyway. Hey, you now person who is now watching. Um, Not everyone's. Just so everyone knows, not everyone's handle shows shows up in the. So if I'm not saying hello to you, it might be just because I don't see your handle. You're just showing up as kind of a generic thing. But good morning to you anyway. I'm so glad to have a few folks jumping on this morning. Got so many fun things to talk about. It's been an exciting week. Definitely been an exciting week here in Detroit, but it's um, we've gone through some political ups and downs. Well, mostly downs, but that's a whole other story. Got things going on, stuff going on with vegans, stuff going on with non-vegans, stuff going on the social justice front. Bonjour, Lily. Yeah, so I'm really excited to have you guys on. So you guys know I'm snacking here got a little bit of my world famous oatmeal here left, just a little bit. I tried something new. I put a little bit of peanut butter in there, and it smells great, but the flavor's not. I'm not loving the flavor too much. It's not terrible, but it's like, mm-mm. I guess I'm a little bit of an oatmeal purist. I think all I want in my oatmeal is a little cinnamon, maybe, maybe some raisins. But yeah, I guess sometimes a little apple is nice. But Matt Blender, good morning. Yeah, so I'm excited to see you guys this morning. I know we got a lot to talk about, so I'm hoping that this is going to be one of those days where you guys let me just kick back my heels, eat my oatmeal, and listen to your thoughts. A lot of stuff going down. Vegan Sister, I really enjoyed. I'm trying to think of what the topic of your last video is. I know I just watched it. Oh yes, I do know what it was. I definitely know what it was, and maybe we're going to hear some more about that. I don't know if you caught it, but I gave you a little bit of a wink in my mukbang yesterday, my mukbang yesterday. And so, yeah, definitely interested in hearing about those things. And Lily, I would love to get an update from you on what's happening with the Leon story in Paris. A young man who was, assaulted by the police. Was assaulted by the police, and I believe that the word, at least it was translated as a rape, or at least it was seen as a sexual assault, and the police claimed that it was an accident. That it was an accident. So that's pretty sad. Mad Blender, you really enjoyed your recent video, your collab with Mexie, just talking about this idea of the sort of economic playing field. And I guess really we're talking about meritocracy and the idea that anybody can work hard and make it. But you and Mexie jointly expose the fallacies in this idea that everyone has an equal chance to make it, at least in the United States. Yeah, Lily says that they're still claiming that it's an accident. Uh, yeah, yeah. It's Miles Boucher's or Boucher. Miles, I don't know how you say your name. I actually know Miles in person, and I don't know how to say his last name. So maybe he'll tell me how to say his last name. But welcome, Miles. Miles from Detroit is here, who's one of my collaborators in planning the Pedagogy and Theater of the Oppressed conference. So maybe we'll have Miles come on and talk about what a bad job I'm doing as lead organizer on that project. Nikki Wonderful, good morning. Yeah, so I mean, really, I'm so super eager to hear from all of you. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I didn't share. I feel like I pretty much shared all of the news, that's everything that's been going on with me this week. There were a couple of actions. There was on the 16th, there was the Day Without Immigrants, and so there was a huge march here in Detroit, in the Southwest, that was planned a little bit under the wire, and I think it had to do with the fact that there were probably some undocumented people who were in the crowd who, it was a way to keep that space safe for them, but ran into a few folks that I knew who were coming back from it, and then there also was. There were a couple of actions on Friday. One was an action in front of the Cadillac building. I believe it's not Cadillac Place. Cadillac Place on West Grand here in the State Building here in Detroit. There was a news conference, really, a news conference and rally talking about the closing of schools. I think some of you may have already checked out that video on my YouTube channel. If not, please do go check it out. There is an amazing, I caught some amazing segments of speeches, especially I caught a little bit of Tawana Petty, who's also one of the co-organizers for the Pedagogy and Theater of the Oppressed conference. So there's a little bit of Tawana Petty, and then there's a big chunk of Monica Lewis Patrick, giving a wonderful example how intersectionality can work just on the ground, in the street, right, with a bunch of people trying to tie together. She says, I'm going to connect the dots, and she actually, like, in the moment connects the dots around the water issue here in Detroit and the foreclosures and the loss of jobs and the closing of schools, and how those things are assaults on communities. Those things are assaults on communities. Yeah, it was really, really amazing. And I have the whole thing. So I may, put a link to the entire speech as one of those kind of like info cards, so that if people want to see more of that speech, they can catch it. So I think people, and I think people would like it, because she does something very specific from the time she starts speaking, the way she engages the crowd, the way she brings them in with things that are familiar to everyone and then ties everything together, and then the way she brings it to a close. It's like a piece. It's like kind of like performance art, and I think that really the orators understand that it's performance. I mean, what we hope the person is bringing is the truth, but it does require some preparation and some skills. Hey, Carly Bryce, welcome to the broadcast. I hope there's no one who's here that I haven't caught. Okay, so just so you guys know, I know that this isn't the pajama party where it was like everybody was prepared and everybody's in their pajamas, but I do hope that folks would be happy to jump on, and just because it's his first time here, and also I noticed Redneck to Vegans here, and I hope that my dear pal might come on and just say hello, just to say hello. That would be wonderful, and as long as it does, nobody's. I don't want anybody to get grilled here. We just want people to just jump on and share whatever they have. I'm looking around here to see. Uh, I was hoping maybe to. I can't see Miles, but I was hoping maybe to get Miles on to talk a little bit about the conference, and he may or may not be prepared to do that today, or he may or may not have. I don't actually even see him in the comments in the section here. But like I said, I really would love to hear from everyone. Lily, um, would you want to jump on and give us a little bit of just like what's going on with you? Hey, Miles, good, you're here. Okay, that's great. So I was just wondering if Lily, would you mind? It's 11:11, y'all. Make a wish. I have this weird thing where I like to do that on the when the numbers all met when the numbers all match up like that. Okay, so now you all know my thing. You'll think about me whenever it's 11:11. So, Lily, yeah, would you mind just getting on and talking a little bit about what has been happening with the Leon case? It's Worley's first time on you now, so welcome, Worley. So I'm hoping that Lily, bonjour.
Bonjour.
So we have Lily here from Lily Ka's Vegan Garden. Is
Yes,
that
it
correct?
is.
Yes.
It's correct, yeah.
A lovely channel that's bilingual, so you make videos both in French and in English.
Yes, I do.
And last week when we were on the stream, you turned me on to a story about a young man, Leon, who was
Theo. So it's Theo. Yeah.
Theo,
Mm,
who was taken by the police and assaulted,
yes.
and just turned into a bit of a mess. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Okay, so I don't have the beginning of the event because a lot of people are talking, so we don't know how it started. But
Hmm.
apparently in Onusuba, which is city in France, which is really known to be like really bad ghettos and really bad things going on, there are policemen who are used to. I found the word in English. It was apparently arrests, but I don't know if it's really that. It's just like they come to you and ask you for your ID.
It's kind of like
And
stop and frisk, it sounds like.
okay, so this is the word. And they do that every time to the same people. And when they do that, they often ask you your ID, knowing that, thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you, Nikki. So they ask you who you are, your ID and everything, what you are doing there. And most of the time, they are using that to abuse of their power. It means that, for example, if they don't know your face or if they don't like your face, they will tell that you did what we call in French, it's comment est-ce qu'on appelle ça en français c'est quoi? Tu sais quand tu parles mal à un agent là, on appelle ça comment? Okay, I forgot the word in French, whatever, but it's just like disrespected the police officers,
Okay.
so you can have a charge on that, and they can arrest you and put to the police office saying that you were bad, you did something, and you have something in your record.
Okay.
And they are used to do that, so even if you are nice to them, if they don't like you, they will find something to charge you, whatever you do. So most of these people are saying when they are seeing policemen, they run. They just run. They are used to run to avoid problem. And there were this stop and freeze, if I'm not mistaken, for a little boy, and Theo came to stop them. So they started to insult him, and they started to beat him for no reason at all. And because he was fighting against them, I mean, he was defending himself, they started to use their truncheon on him, and they put him on the floor. There were four on him. They put him on the floor, and we don't know how it happened, but the truncheon finished in his anus. We don't know how it. And we saw some footage, but I don't see it all because I was just like, it was too hard for me. There were just blood all over the wall, and someone was saying, okay, so it happened there because they took some footage about that. He was putting on the floor, and then you can see all of the blood, and then they arrest him and they put it in their car and left. And apparently he told them that he was really suffering, because we have his testimony. He was just like, I'm on the floor, I have 4 people on me, beating me for no reason, saying, calling me bambula, calling me just like a nigger, thing like that. And at a certain point, I don't understand why I have a pain in my anus. I'm just like, I can't even talk because I feel so bad. And then I tell them I'm not okay, I'm suffering. They just don't care. They continue to just like yell and everything. And then they walk me to the car, and I tell them, okay, I'm not feeling well. And they're insulting me. And when he said that he was suffering, they were continuing to insult him until they came to the police office. And they started to talk with him, and he said, okay, I'm not feeling well. And he was bleeding. I mean, he was bleeding, actually. So they put him in the emergency, and the doctor asked him to stop to work, to have a 60-day rest. And I think he had something like a wound of 10 centimeters. Because of that assault. And I'm really sorry. I mean, I'm really sorry. I didn't want you to be that. It was not the purpose, but this is the thing. And the policemen were just like, the policeman who did that actually said that he did nothing. He just put the truncheon on his leg, saying that he was fighting and he was just resisting, and he don't know how it happened. He was on the floor, and he continued to beat him in the leg, on the leg, and then they left. And apparently, coming to the post office, he said, I don't feel well, so they put him in the emergency, and he heard that he was suffering and he had an injury. It was just like, I don't know how it happens. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, what the heck? And we had that problem with actually the policemen, because apparently it happens really, really often. I think last week we heard about another guy who said that one of the 4 policemen who assaulted Theo was in another assaulted from other guys. So just like, it's every time. It's really often. It's really common. Yeah, and apparently they call him Barberousse, because he is known to be a bit rude with people for no reason at all. So we're just like, okay, so this is a rape, so we should call that a rape. And for the prosecutor, it was not a rape, it was just violence, because a policeman can't do that, like, to think like a sexual assault. It just do that to, I don't know, for him it was just violence. So there were a kind of problem, a kind of issue, because most of the time when they do things like that, it's really common for the policemen to use rape or this kind of aggression to make some people from ghettos feel uncomfortable, feel bad. I don't know, they have
making an example of one person so that the other people will know that this is what's going to happen to you if you step out of line, kind of. Yeah, okay. Which is called terrorism.
A kind of, we are the boss, you are nothing, so know that we can do whatever we want and nothing would happen. And most of the time the problem is they use violence in France, and because we have media now, so we know that we can film things and it can go really farther than before. But normally, if it comes to the prosecutor would just say, oh, okay, so this is violence, and nothing would happen. So they know when they do that nothing would happen. So now it's just like kind of separate. So it's those who are saying that the policeman did something really wrong, so they should go to prison. And some other are just like, yeah, but I mean, he deserves it. I mean, he's from the ghetto. Just like, they wouldn't do that for no reason at all. It was just like, no, wait a minute. He put a truncheon there's no reason. You can't
Yeah,
justify that. There's no
yeah,
reason.
yeah,
And I was talking
yeah.
about a picture which I found really upsetting. You know the je suis something sentence. Just like when something happened in a country, there is an event. It's just like I am Belgium, I am Paris, things like that. When things bad happen, so they decided to do I am Theo, and then you have a kind of picture of a guy just like bending a little bit with a chon chon in the ass. So they found that quite funny,
Hmm.
actually. So they are spreading that all over there. And I'm just like, what? Yeah, it's
Hmm.
interesting.
Desensitizing people to it. It's,
Yeah,
well, it's not a big deal.
it's
So
fun. It's fun. A guy took something in the ass, so it's fun. Yeah,
it's very interesting. We've had similar cases in the United States, at least in New York City. Um, I believe it was Abner Louima, in a precinct in Brooklyn, who had something similar
oh god.
happen. Of course, they didn't claim it was an accident because that would be just ridiculous. It was more a question of like who was at fault and like who would be the blame. Was it the person who initiated or the people who held the person down?
Mm,
But it's horrifying to say the least. Horrifying to say the least. Um, and I understand that there's sort of, there are some people who are making light of it, but I imagine in that community where Theo lives, there's been some public outcry, or you
yeah,
want to tell
yeah.
us a little bit
That's,
about it, how
mm-hmm.
people are reacting in the community?
A lot of people are protesting actually against that. I have a friend who went to a protest. It went really wrong because she told me we made a video about that, and I'm about to read that in some days. But she told me apparently that they came in front of the Bobigny court to
Okay.
protest on the thing, and there were CRS, just like policemen around circling them. So it was just a kind of awkward situation, but they did nothing wrong. And most of the time in every protest, they are people who are here just to do messy things.
Hmm.
So she heard, because she had friends in different spots, that some policemen were doing some, I don't know, they were trying to tease people, doing really bad, saying really bad stuff, doing really
Like
bad signs.
antagonizing people, provoking people,
Yes, they were.
instigating.
Yes, they were doing that. So most of the people, I mean, who were living in Bobigny or in Onay when it happens, trying to they were trying to stay calm and do nothing. And then those who were coming just to do messy things, they weren't even blacks. Actually, it was white people who came there. They started to throw rocks on the policemen,
Hmm.
and so it went in a minute. It went really, really wrong. So the policemen started to use gas on people, and they gassed every single one. So it started to be a real mess in less than something like an hour and 50, something like that. And when people wanted to flee, they were using flashballs on them. And at the end, in the media, it was just like, look, a protest for Theo's story, and look how it goes bad. So
Hmm.
they are bad people, so, and they do that every time. They do that
Yep.
every single time. So now they are
Yep.
saying that people who protest for Theo are bad people and just want to do
Hmm.
messy things.
Hmm. Completely overshadowing what happened to Theo. Hmm.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, Lily, thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah,
And we'll, hopefully there'll be updates, and I hope that
sure.
somehow there is some kind of a positive
I'll come, I
shift
don't
that
know.
happens. Bourgogne is the name of the community. Is it in Paris, or is it a suburb of Paris, or
It's a
us?
city in Paris, Aulnay-sous-Bois.
It's okay.
Yeah, Bobigny, actually, it's, I don't know, the administrative center?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I wonder if it's similar to what we call like City Hall, maybe.
Mm,
It's
I
where
don't know.
the politicians kind of meet, and our city councils and things like that. You know what? I'm going to look it up, and I'm going to talk
Mm,
about it in one of my
be-
updates. But
mm,
I'll look it up. If you can just
okay.
if you can just message me the names of the places, then
Yeah,
I'll look
sure.
them up and do some follow up for it. But again, I want to thank you for
Thank you to
sharing
you.
that and being our first guest on the channel today. Any final words before you jump off?
Mm, um, happy to have you in. Happy to be the guest. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome.
I
You're
will
welcome.
still stay there to talk with you guys.
Okay, great, great. Hang out. You'll be hanging out, and we're going to hear from some other folks.
Sure.
Thank you, Lily of Lily Ka's Vegan Garden. And in the meantime, some other folks have shown up. So, Vegan Foot Soldier, how you doing? Welcome. Livia A is here. Welcome, Livia. Truth Kale, welcome. Let's see if any other folks have shown up. Mex Y, welcome. Yeah, so you guys have been busy stuff talking about. You guys just heard the story that Lily Ka had to share um, from Paris, and the story of Theo and the police assault and the community reactions to that. And so what I'm hoping is that some other folks will jump up in the guest queue. I hope some other folks will jump up in the guest queue to talk about things that are going on with you all. Um, so Vegan Foot Soldier, I feel like the last time we were together in a room, we had a little side chat going on, and we've actually been having a little bit of back and forth around this whole idea of intersectionality and how it might be misconstrued, particularly in the vegan community, or people who kind of just don't understand how it fits into activism. And so what I'm hoping, maybe you might jump on and just say hi to folks, and like obviously there are people who haven't met you who might want to meet you as well. So I don't know how you're feeling. Do you feel guesty? We'll see if we'll see if you feel guesty at all. um oh, okay, got that. Let's see who's in here. We've got a lot of regulars, obviously. I feel very comfortable volunteering folks, but I'd much rather have you guys jump on uh, and jump on and talk about stuff. So yeah, so I mean, I guess what do I have to say? So yeah, so this thing has been going on. Oh, also there have been some folks. There's been a little bit of not controversy, but people have expressed some displeasure with me over my decision to talk about the vegan cheetah and his recent pro social justice rhetoric on his channel. Um, uh, yeah, vegan sister. Yeah, so vegan sister, since you had a comment about it, please tell me that you'd be cool jumping on and offering your take on this whole thing of vegan cheetah, and where obviously his channel has taken an extreme shift from this kind of just out there blatant kind of speculations and things like that, and really more just reporting on what is happening in the vegan community. Okay, people are, I tell everybody, Saturday, get your hair did, cause cause Sunday morning, um, um, oh no, I didn't hear. Okay, so now we got our own vegan drama happening here. So okay, I'm not going to make a big thing and blowing up, but apparently their vegan sister's got cause, and I'm going to let you. You know what, vegan sister, whatever that is, I'm going to let you break that story on your channel, and I'll just comment on it once it's public information. Um, got you. So vegan sister is otherwise indisposed, we'll say. All right, wonderful, wonderful. But let me see. Somebody, Truth Kale says, I haven't been watching Vegan Cheetah, but he did the same thing a year ago. Yeah, I was talking about. I talked about that. The fact that Vegan Cheetah, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, really just as I was starting the Food for Thought series, uh, had his channel. And my first exposure to vegan Cheetah was actually something that I found profoundly disturbing, because he was making a response to someone who went by the handle Check Your Activism, who was an African American woman, Rachel. I don't know if folks remember Check Your Activism, but he made some really some really offensive comments, and he started the video actually kind of with a banana and doing a weird like imitation of an ape, and I didn't understand what it was. It just made me very uncomfortable. And then a little while later, he went into rehab and then came back and deleted all of his content, most if not all of his content, and started making videos that were on the theme of social justice. And at that time too, even people who had known of him before were really not very trusting of him. And of course, not long after that, he started the vegan drama. And I think he was also studying either media, communications, or journalism, or something like that. And it may be that he was kind of applying theories from his journalism class into his channel, all that stuff. Regardless, he went from being an obscure little channel to having, close to 50,000 subscribers, whatever that means. But yes. So Vegan Sister, you remember the Check Your Activism, and it ended up kind of not really running Check Your Activism off of YouTube, but Rachel decided that it wasn't the place for her, and I was disappointed by that, because I thought, wow, there's someone who's actually bringing another perspective to the whole question of veganism and things like that, right? So, and I really am interested in what people are thinking about the role of social justice in the vegan community, and if people feel like there is more space for a deeper analysis of systems of oppression as they, affect people within the conversation of veganism and the exploitation of animals. So, again, that seems to have been a great theme last week with Unnatural Vegan creating a video where basically she came out and said, "I don't care about justice," which was I don't know what that was I don't know what that meant, but my sense is if someone comes and robs her house, she would probably want to see that person arrested, right, and get her stuff back, right? So I think that to say I don't care about justice, I think there is an implied second part to that statement that she's not saying, and I think that that's where my problem with Unnatural Vegan, well, aside from the fact that she completely misrepresented social justice and intersectionality. So I can't believe Urban Vegan. First of all, hello, Urban Vegan. Welcome. I can't believe anyone thinks VC is rolling out positive message. Not once have I heard him speak of compassion for animals or humans. Well, that's just it. That's just it, Urban Vegan. He actually has been expressing compassion for humans. He's been expressing, he's been expressing an understanding of what it means to be considerate of other people's oppressions. If you're a vegan and you show compassion for animals, that you should be showing compassion for humans as well. Thanks for the applause, by the way. And so again, these are words, right? These are not. He's not out in the street protesting. He actually at one point said he's not going to dye his hair blue, but I think those of you who remember him from before probably got the irony of that, because his hair used to be dyed all kinds of colors, right? Vegan Cheetah was kind of known for the painted fingernails and the paint and the dyed hair. Wow, yeah, I don't know how to. I don't think I've ever given anyone applause, but I do know how to give likes. And if you guys, the like button is right there. I never ask you guys for things like likes and stuff like that, but I can tell you when they pop up, it makes me go whoa. It makes me really happy. So, all right, so yes, so I don't know what to make of vegan cheetah's transformation. I'm going to be, full disclosure. We actually exchanged an email. Yes, people are going to be like, "Oh no, Reg has truck with the devil." No, I actually, I put a message on his, because in one of his videos he, talked about me accusing people of racism if they didn't sit down and listen to me, and I didn't want to make it a big drama. I just wanted to, apologize to him if he ever got the impression that I was calling him a racist, because that's not really the kind of thing that I like to do. And then he replied to that email and, talked a little bit about the fact that he is interested in the story. He's interested in social justice, as a journalist, because it seems to be a story that has legs. So he's not pretending to have, to have any kind of transformation. So really the question is, is it bad for social justice to have a voice like Vegan Cheetah talking about social justice issues? So again, I'd love to hear. Foot Soldier says mentioning social justice is damage control. Again, all of these things. So I think, yeah, definitely, it's about about the channel. It's about part of the entertainment, but. Is he saying things that aren't true? Is he saying things that are harmful to the social justice movement? I mean, for him to say, and again, I don't want to make too much of it, except what we can take from that and use to shift people's thinking about the role of social justice in the vegan community, or just the role of social justice in our world today. So he's Urban Vegan says he's a slick, pretty boy, fast talker, TGAT people, especially women, to get I'm not sure at people for. I don't buy it. Yeah, it's a bit troublesome, because when he starts to focus on something, it goes wrong. Yeah, so there's a chance that he might, be getting people into a conversation. The next thing you know, he's the anti-social justice voice, right? Which could happen. Who knows? And this is something that I've been talking about for a while. The fact that he's growing this channel, he's growing this following, and who knows what he will do with that once he gets it, right? But then, who knows? I hope that, I don't necessarily foresee myself having, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and I wouldn't know what to do with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, because I like to get in there and mix it up with people, and that might just be too much. I'd probably have to clone myself a few times to deal with that. Lily K says, I understand the need to be fair with him. Colin Miller, hello, says he just wants attention. He wants all the vegan drama. Justice doesn't matter to him personally. Yeah, I think that he's pretty much said that. He's pretty much said, don't expect him to start, rocking a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. He says, don't expect me to dye my hair, like I said, even though his hair was dyed before. Kissed Vega, thank you for inviting 170 fans to this broadcast. So I'm wondering if anyone who is here today is up for coming on and guesting. That's always so much more fun to me to hear you guys talk and share your stories, and I promise that I won't get emotional. I promise I won't get emotional. Foot Soldier says, I think you really need to speak from your heart on YouTube. If you just bandwagon jump, you will jump back off. Reg, you genuinely care about social justice. Thank you, Vegan Foot Soldier. Yeah, thank you. It's kind of you to say. Vegan Sister, I remember once he said he painted his nails to break gender norms. Like, what does that even mean? Was he saying he painted his nails to break gender norms to kind of virtue signal? Was he saying that because at one time he was really interested in because also isn't it one of the oh my goodness, he's Will Smith. Jaden Smith also kind of rocks the breaking gender norms thing, right? That that was pretty popular. Um, about like 2 years ago, there was a whole thing where certain male celebrities were making a thing out of breaking gender gender stereotypes, and making a thing of it, not just doing it, but making a thing about it, coming out and talking about it. I believe there was a whole interview with the Smith children that became this huge embarrassing thing, and people were saying, why are they letting these children, why are they publishing these words from these children that clearly they're going to, be embarrassed about? Not that that's even the case. Mexie says, I look like track, but I can come on. Not sure if any stories to tell. Come on. We're going to invite, okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, so we're gonna bring Miles, who's in the guest queue, and then I think Mexie, if I think we'll have time, we may have time, we'll bring you on. But for right now, I'm going to introduce you guys to Miles, who's one of the collaborators, the organizers for the Pedagogy and Theater of the Oppressed conference. He's a Phoenix Fellow here in Detroit, and one of these days his face will show up. He's actually been busy on the channel. I think at one point I talked to him a little bit about Gamergate. And what happened? Let's see. I'm going to try to Miles may not have his technology correct. But let's see what's going to happen. So Miles has been, you guys may notice he's been jumping around, kind of following around the folks who are talking about Gamergate, and he had some things to say about Gamergate and has been talking to them. But I see I see his picture. He's got his headphones on. He looks like he's ready to go. We're just not connecting. All right, that didn't happen. So what, Miles, just so you know, I don't know, Miles, if you can hear me, sometimes what works is for people to jump off and then jump back on again. So while you do that, let's see, who's in the queue? Let's see what's going on. I see Miles again. One of these days. Yeah, so I don't know if people were, I made a video and sort of tangentially Gamergate came up, and I had, all of the, folks from the gamer community were coming on. They're like, no, you got it all wrong, and, this, that, the other thing. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, I got it all wrong. I got my information from the press. I got my information from clips that I was able to find. Yeah, Miles. So yeah, Miles, you may want to jump off and jump back on again. But again, to give you guys a little bit background on that. So yeah, so I was saying, I got my information from the press. I got my information from what was available out there, and I read many, many, many articles. I'm going to let you guys know I've read many, many, many articles. I didn't stop at Wikipedia. Although I've been accused at stopping at Wikipedia, whatever that means. But I followed it through. I went down the rabbit hole, y'all. I went deep and got some basic information that just kind of confirmed for me that one of the reasons the social justice warrior became such the nemesis on social media was in part because of the Gamergate movement. Now, that was the extent of my interest in the story. But apparently the folks from the Gamergate came on to the channel and they're saying, no, you were wrong, you were wrong. You social justice warriors, you're the devil. You social justice warriors are cancer. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I was wrong, but what you're doing right now is confirming what I have to say. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what point was to be made. And then they were saying, well, you're guilty of doing this. And I said, well, what do you think about Black Lives Matter? And they will say, well, Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't see the irony in your condemning me for getting wrong Gamergate, and yet you're saying that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. You don't see that there's a problem with that. You don't see that there's a problem with labeling all people who are engaged in social justice, all social justice advocates, as cancer because of a couple of news articles, because somebody tried to use social justice, somebody tried to weaponize social justice against you. So now everyone who's interested in social justice. And I continue to say to people, it's like, can you imagine if again, and I'm sure a lot of black people do this, but if people use the evidence of, some of the hate groups, the white supremacist, white nationalist hate groups out there, and try to sort of paint all white people as that, can you imagine how horrible that would seem to people? And yet for fringe for groups that are seen out on the fringe, it's very easy to just label them all as one thing, because you know what, we didn't see them really as human to begin with, right? And that's another big thing, is like this idea of dehumanizing groups of people and using language that is so clearly intended to dehumanize them. And this in some ways goes back to the notion that that's animals have become the template for exploitation. The way we have learned to think about animals creates this model that we can just impose on any other group of people and justify their murder and we see it happening. Miles, I'm trying my best to get you on here. We're going to figure this out, and to justify their murder. And I'm going to spend some time next week looking at the way people are responding to Muslims in the United States and the whole idea of Islam. And obviously some of that is requiring me to do some reading from the Quran, which I'm on about chapter 200 of 6,000 chapters. But my hope is to be able to kind of get some understanding for myself and not simply be basing things on what's been cherry picked to seem, to make Muslims seem horrible. But, so I'll have more to say about that next week. And I'm kind of starting with a little bit of calling out of Bill Maher, who's been kind of one of the loudest Islamophobic voices, which is very sad because I've always thought of Bill Maher as an amazing satirist and an amazing social, amazing in terms of his social commentary, and had no idea that buried within all of that was this Islamophobia, which apparently also connects to Sam Harris. And I don't know if folks are have picked up on this, but Unnatural Vegan happens to also be a fan of Sam Harris. So just to see how these things become connected once we start to devalue certain types of people and certain types of lives because of assumptions that we make about them as violent or as subhuman for whatever reason, leads us to, these things end up as violence. So, Miles, I'm not sure what happened, but I keep clicking the guest button. Like I said, if maybe if you go out of the room and come back in, that'll be helpful. But in the meantime, let me see. So things that have been being said. He's not perfect, that's true. He could end up making things worse. We're talking about Vegan Cheetah there. Let's see. I think you really need to speak for... Okay, that's stuff that's been read before. Vegan Sister says to Urban Vegan, he's a businessman. He's trying to run a business. Yeah, he is. The Vegetable Police made a video about the Holocaust denial. And I haven't looked into it, so I haven't really said much about it because I haven't looked any deeper into it than I did, other than what I threw up from Vegan Cheetah's videos, because Vegan Cheetah was commenting on, this kind of rising anti-social justice energy that might be emerging in the vegan community. But Mike on Raw, I think, who often ends up, hello, good morning, Philosophy and Letters. Good morning, New Day Gallery. What is happening to the vegan? MexY says, what is happening to the vegan community? Well, and is that MexY? I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and bring MexY on, who offered to guest. and just, just say hello, just meet a new person. Oh, is that Mexie? Get out of here. Mexie, you're supposed to shout yourself out. Anyway, so I love it. Mad Blender says, "You know that's Mexie, right?" Oh, look at you. How are you gonna?
Hi.
I love how modest you are.
Here we
You're
go.
like, I could come on. I could be there.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't have
What's
any,
going on there?
so it's like I don't. I just have it on my couch because this is the only place I get any light at all. So why is my face? Okay, there we go.
There's you.
I'm on.
Hey, Mexie, what's going on?
Not too much. And my
So, you know what? Last week it was pajama party, and you know what? I'm gonna just say this right now. This is it's 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Robe is cool. I was gonna say robe is kosher, but I don't know if people outside of New York even understand like that as something as a weird term from like Jewish culture. But kosher, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Hello, how are you?
Not bad. It's actually a long weekend here, so looking forward to another day off. So
What does that mean? What is it? Is it a holiday, like a national holiday?
So like in Canada, like they wanted to make it so that every month we had a stat holiday. So there was nothing for February, so we just kind of invented something called Family Day, and that's tomorrow.
Okay.
It's that holiday.
Well,
Family
happy upcoming Family Day. So tell me what you got. What's going on with you? Do you have anything to say about all these topics we've been discussing, or any other thing? I know you just did a recent collab with Mad Blender, and you guys were talking about the whole myth of the level playing field in economics and capitalism.
yeah.
Talk about any of those things, or just you can just say hello and what you did yesterday.
Yeah, well, okay, so the VC stuff, I mean, I haven't really watched any of his videos. I was really turned off by him like a while ago just with all of his drama stuff.
Uh huh.
I guess I would have to watch them before I make any comments because I know a lot of people are like just really upset by him in general, so I'd have to see what he's saying. But
Uh
I
huh.
guess like there's always like it just seems like there's like a new scandal every day with someone in the vegan community like doing or saying something that's like pretty much like alt right, you know? So I'm like, what is happening here? Like, how is this
Yeah.
permeating even the vegan community? It just seems like what's happening, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have what about? I mean, somebody recently mentioned just like this idea of you know anti-Jewish sentiment, and some people are saying that it's not really anti-Jewish, it's anti-Zionist,
Mm-hmm.
but the term that's being used is Jewish, so maybe
I don't
people are
know.
conflating.
I don't really know much about that, like what you're talking about, I guess. But yeah. So I don't know. I'm glad that vegan cheetah is at least saying something positive about social justice, considering that unnatural vegan is like making such a I don't know terrible mess of it all.
It's a dirty, yeah,
Um,
and it's a dirty word these days.
It is, and like I don't know, I feel like maybe she's just kind of capitalizing on that, and even like you're gonna get a ton of views if you put out a video that's anti-SJW or anti-feminist or anti-Black Lives Matter, and I'm just like, how did we get to this place? Like, I really thought, but I like the whole Trump thing, whatever, but I really, the success or like the popularity of Bernie Sanders really made me feel like there's a lot of young people that are completely against that kind of mindset, like really wanting change and everything. So I'm like, how is this somehow just permeating everything, right? Like, how did it become so fashionable to be against equality? It's just, and I guess that's why, like, I wanted to, like, me and Mad Blender wanted to do that collab on equality of opportunity, because it's just like, people will say that we do have equality already, and we obviously don't. And, if people are for equality of opportunity, then why aren't they for equality just in general, like among people, right? Or why do they not see that we don't have equality right now? We don't have any equality, especially, you talk a lot about, marginalized communities, and the story that we heard before, obviously, like, how could anyone say that we're living in a world where there is equality, or even equality of opportunity, as they say, like, oh, we don't have equality, but we have equal opportunity. Like, well, we don't even have that. So how is it trendy to be like, oh, I don't want to see justice for anyone. I don't want to see equality for anyone, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. So I'm getting I'm a little bit echoey, so please forgive me because I get distracted by myself. But when what are some things, like the manifestations that you see that appear to be new, right? There are all of the things that we know. We know how the machine works. It's well oiled. You talk about it beautifully in your last video. But what are some things that you're seeing now that strike you as different or disturbing in the way people seem to be engaging politically, or the way people maybe even seem to be firing up a base for something that might be on the horizon?
Right. I mean, there's always been a right wing, and I guess the Republicans have always kind of believed in this kind of like free market nonsense, right? So that's not really new. But I guess what's new, like this whole, like people, I guess, I guess it's not really new, but it's like a continuation and like deepening of what we've seen before. Because like, we saw like under President George Bush, basically it's like the leaders, like the government and the corporations or whatever, the people in charge are basically distracting the people with like these foreign enemies, or these, here's your enemy, to keep people distracted actually going on, like the actual policies that are hurting them in the here and now, and like creating inequality in their own communities, right? So like people voted for Trump because they are pissed about those policies, and yet nobody's actually talking about the policies, and like people are only realizing after they vote that they've screwed themselves by voting for these policies. So I guess what we're seeing now is like all this alt-right, and it's like I guess our enemy used to be portrayed as like overseas, so like the enemy was like Iraq and like the Middle East and all these terrorists. So now it's like bringing these enemies just to to be our neighbors, you know what I mean? So it's like the black communities that are in our city are our enemies, the Muslim communities are our enemies, and you know what I mean? So it's just like deepening and entrenching these ways of blaming others for these policies that really hurt everybody, and keeping people distracted about like what would actually help them. Because like a lot of these people who are part of the alt-right, I mean, I don't actually know like who's all part of the alt-right, but like, presumably a lot of them are like working class white people. So, supporting the status quo and like, confusing yourself, or like making minorities the enemy or making feminists the enemy is only hurting yourself, because you're not actually, you know what I mean? Like you're fighting against something that doesn't harm you. You're not fighting against the real enemy of you, which is like the state, corporate kind of, neoliberal complex. So you're not actually fighting against that. You're just fighting against these things that like what do you lose if Black Lives Matter? That's like one of the, like what do you lose if women get equal pay or whatever? Like even if you don't agree with the wage gap or whatever, like what do you lose if you like support equality for all people? And I guess I don't know, it's pretty troubling now, especially I guess what else is new is like the alternative facts kind of universe. So it's like even if the news were to put out something about like Trump's failed policies, or like look what's happening, like this is the reason why you're poor, this is the reason why you're struggling, it's not because of immigrants, it's not because of Muslims, here it is. Even if like CNN put that out, most people would just be like, oh, that's horseshit, that's just fake news, I'm gonna go look at Breitbart news or whatever, right? So I guess what's new is that just nobody it's hard to even inform people about what would be in their best interest, and like I guess just like all of our enemies are becoming confused, and I guess that's what's new, right? Or that's
it's interesting. Another thing that I've picked up on is how the role of culture in all of this, and like Milo, for example, Yiannopoulos, he's so cool.
Is he?
Right? But you know what I'm saying? he's like part of this wave to make the alt right is the new counterculture. They're like the hippies, right?
Yeah.
Because the mainstream is all of these liberals with these ideas where they're going to try to take away our power, they're going to try to take away our voices, they're censoring everyone, they're snowflakes, you know what I mean? They're no fun, right? And now the fun people, the people who are just going to have a good time and create a world that we all can just be in and be happy in, are the alt writers.
Yeah, yeah, that is true.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Although, like, obviously, like, I've seen so many things about how, like, they are the real snowflakes, you know what I mean? Like, they are the ones who get triggered by, like, anything, and, like, they're the ones shutting down free speech as well, right? So it's like,
yeah, but that's no strategy. What you call them? Oh, so what we called you a name, and you're just gonna call us one back, right? That's no that's
yeah,
no strategy, right? So like, what is And I'm not calling on you to answer this. Obviously, we're just in a conversation, and there are
yeah,
people in the chat box who are gonna add in. But like, come on, if their new strategy is we're the cool ones, we're the fun ones,
yeah. You know what?
what do we do about that?
The right has always had like the sexiest messaging. Like even like when they're putting out their platforms, it's like lower taxes, more freedom. Like they have like the great messaging, right? And then what does the left have? Like, yeah, we want more taxes, we want more taxes, we want redistribution. Yeah, like or like we want anti this, we want anti-capitalist, anti that, anti that. It's like the left's messaging sucks. Like it's never been
Right.
sexy, like
Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't
yeah,
don't say that. It's interesting, but you break something down kind of really amazingly in your video where you talk about like the double speak of neoliberalism, where we're taught that no choice is a choice, right? So universal health care is, you explain to people in case they haven't seen your video, but talk about how like this double speak of neoliberalism
right.
where our the illusions.
Right. So it's basically this idea that like, the freer the market, the freer the people or whatever, like, if there's a state collecting our tax and then, giving us free stuff, that's just like the nanny state. That's like an imposition that's killing our individual freedom, right? So
Hmm.
individual freedom here is like the highest goal, but it just becomes like when everything becomes privatized and everything, it just means that like everyone is responsible for their own shit. And if you add up what people would spend on like healthcare or like childcare or whatever, if you add all of that up, it would be way more than if you just had like a good tax structure and then had redistribution and had these things all free and accessible to everyone.
Hmm.
But anyway, so the idea is that like, yeah, everyone's so free, so yeah, you lose your healthcare, but you have the freedom of choice to choose your healthcare provider. You're free to choose, your insurance provider.
you
You're
could
free.
put you could put a sticker you could have put a sticker of the one you would have if you could afford it, right?
Exactly,
On your
yeah.
refrigerator. Get a magnet on your refrigerator.
Yeah, and so the discourse isn't like, okay, but can anybody like access these things? It's like, no, you're free to have them if you want, but like nobody really talks about like, okay, but nobody can actually access them, or like the majority of people can't access them, right? So it's like, how
Hmm.
free are we, right? And
Right, and you talk about this, yeah, yeah. And I was going to say, you talk about it with schools. You talk like list some of the things that you see some of the places where you see this happening.
well, yeah, schools. So like, poor people have no freedom. Like, unless you have capital, you have no freedom because, rich people are free to choose to, go to the public schools that have been gutted because, this ideology also like advocates for no state spending on anything. So they can choose to go to the private school, to go to the charter school, to go to the public school. They can choose so many things, right? Someone without any capital or any, a lot of property or anything like that. So they have no choice. You have to go to the free public school, even if it's dilapidated, even if it's in a bad neighborhood. Like you have no choice. Like, how are you going to get health care? Maybe, hopefully, you'll qualify for like Obamacare, even though that's going to be repealed soon. So yeah, you're free to choose where you get your healthcare, but you can't actually pay for it. So you're not free to actually access it.
Hmm.
So your freedoms become like, it's like a modicum of freedom for people who don't have capital. And then the only people who are free are the ones who are completely wealthy, right? Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's just like it's a problematic ideology because it convinces everybody that like, well, you might be poor now, but one day you could be rich and free. Like you have the freedom to advance, right? So everyone thinks like, well,
Hmm.
maybe if I work really hard, I can get there, right? But I think that's
Which was
the
the whole
worst thing.
purpose of the video. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Which
then
was
I
the whole
just
purpose of the video.
yeah, but it's really bad though because then people who are suffering like because of these policies just get blamed and told that like well you're not working hard enough, like
Hmm.
you're just a slacker, that you're living in poverty, you're just you've just wasted your life basically. But it's like no, it's like systematically set up to make sure that like there are people working those jobs for no money, otherwise the system wouldn't keep going, right? I mean, it was
Hmm.
founded on slavery, and then now it's like there's slavery continuing, like temporary foreign workers or like outsourcing, or they even have like inmate labor now where prison labor is being used. So it's like we
Hmm.
need this slave labor to keep this whole system going. And
Hmm.
so like there's never going to be a time when everyone is a manager, everyone is an owner, everyone is a successful business person, because then who are going to be the laborers? You know what I mean? It's just not possible
Hmm.
logistically.
Hmm.
Like I don't know.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because something that you said about the free market, I just was thinking about a comment that someone left on one of the videos yesterday. They said, if we got rid of the free market, millions of people would starve. And I thought, have you been paying attention? Have you been paying attention? They're already starving, baby. You know what I mean? It's like every day. Come on, have you been paying attention? And but this, again gets back to this point where where racism and sexism and all these things, how they become the pillars for
Right.
these systems, is they're not people. The
Exactly.
1 in 4 Africans that are, suffering malnutrition, they're not people. So,
Yeah.
we are okay. And there's I'm gonna get more into that next week. This whole idea of the destabilization. The
Right.
world is being destabilized by these people over there, but there are people over there whose world has been destabilized
Mhm.
for a long time. Some
Right.
might say from 1492
Right.
when they
Yes.
showed up here and started, what, you know what I mean? Yeah, the world the world has been destable for some people for a long, long time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
M-
and continues to be. So.
Mexie, it's been great having you here. I'm looking down at the clock and it's a little after noon, and that means I try to be real strict about this so everybody knows that it's an hour, so that they'll come and they won't be like, oh no, I gotta leave early. So I'm gonna, do you have any last words for us before you say goodbye to the folks?
Not really. Just this was fun. I just like figured out how to use you now, so I'll come for some other streams so we can keep it
Cool.
going then. So.
Nice. Cool. All right. So that said, we're gonna say goodbye to Mexie. uh, please be sure you all to check out Mexie's channel. It's Mexie. It's her handle's Mexie, and she has a channel on YouTube. Please do check it out. Yeah, you guys are saying goodbye already. It's been wonderful hanging out with all of you. I always get like, oh, at this point, because I feel like it's been a great party, and you guys have been great guests. Um, and Miles, I don't know what happened, but I hope I see you. I hope we can get you back here next week and figure out what happened. Or maybe you could come over and you can sit in the chair next to me and be my co-host. But all that said, for those of you who were, that's it for this broadcast. For those of you who've been watching on YouTube, like this video if you like it, share it, comment, subscribe. This is Reg signing off. Love yourselves. Peace.